Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving into a pretty fascinating spiritual lecture that asks a huge question. What if natural disasters aren't random at all? What if they're actually a direct result of human consciousness, part of a cosmic plan that has singled out one specific generation to, well, save the world? Let's get into it.
So, the material we're looking at today kicks off with this massive question. It suggests that if you really want to understand why things like earthquakes and hurricanes happen, you can't just look at geology or weather patterns. Nope. The real answer, it claims, is actually a lot closer to home. It's within us.
The core argument is that the root cause of these incredibly powerful natural events isn't something external. It's directly tied to humanity. Okay, let's see exactly how this idea unfolds. So, the theory starts with this concept that the future isn't a total mystery. It's often foreseen by certain people. But, and this is a key distinction, it makes a split between who gets to be the official prophet and whose visions just get lost to time. So you've got two camps here. On one side, you have the makers. These are the influential figures, the religious leaders, whose predictions get written down and become official history. But then, on the other side, you have the non-makers, like shamans and other spiritual people. They might see the exact same future, but because they don't have a formal platform, their words often just, poof, they disappear. So where does this all lead? Well, it connects to a much bigger, grander idea, a sort of cosmic blueprint for planet Earth itself, which the source calls the 3-7 rule. Okay, so according to this blueprint, Earth's whole operational plan is split into two major phases. The first 30% of its existence, that was all about physical creation. The time when mountains were rising from the sea and the continents were taking shape, the heavy lifting. Now, the second phase, the much longer 70% phase, was for us, for humanity. But this wasn't just an era of simple progress. It was an era defined by creating problems, conflicts, and what the lecture calls contradictions, all the messy, complicated parts of our development. And here's the real kicker. This entire phase is said to have officially come to an end right at the close of 2012. Okay, so if that whole phase of creating problems is over, then what was causing all the turmoil in the first place, including those natural disasters we talked about? Well, the answer this lecture gives is pretty wild. This brings us to probably the most out there idea in the whole lecture, the concept of the mass of words. The theory proposes that our thoughts, our feelings, and especially the words we speak, aren't just abstract things. They have a tangible energy, a physical mass that builds up and directly, physically impacts the planet. So if you follow that logic, all the accumulated energy from our collective dissatisfaction, every single complaint, every argument, all that negativity, it piles up. And this energetic mass is what actually triggers calamities like earthquakes and tornadoes. In essence, our collective words are literally shaking the earth. This brings us to a really crucial turning point in this whole cosmic timeline. Because with the old era of creating problems now officially complete, a brand new one had to begin. Right. So with that 70% phase of contradiction and problem-making finished as of 2012, the year 2013 is said to have kicked off a totally new era. The entire focus shifted away from creating problems and towards finding a correct law, or, the real fundamental answers to humanity's biggest questions. Which, of course, leads to the next big question. If the world is finally ready for some answers, where are they supposed to come from? Who exactly is supposed to deliver them? The lecture doesn't leave that to chance, not at all. It pinpoints a very, very specific group of people who it claims were basically prepared by history for this exact moment. And here is the specific claim, that the answers will come from a particular generation born in South Korea after the major wars of the 20th century. They're referred to as the final bloodline, and they were supposedly uniquely prepared for a global mission. So you might be asking, why them? Why this specific group? Well, the theory argues they were in this perfect, unique position. Because they were spared from the direct trauma of war, they were able to absorb all of the world's knowledge, the good, the bad, and the ugly, through their education. This gave them a complete picture of global problems, but without being personally scarred by them. And get this, the speaker emphasizes that this generation was taught a very specific phrase in elementary school about their purpose. This wasn't just some patriotic slogan. The argument is that it was a cosmic assignment that no other generation in history was ever taught. So, the crucial takeaway here is that their entire upbringing and education was, according to this theory, a kind of training program for a global mission. They were given the world's knowledge not to solve their own country's issues, but to solve the world's problems and ultimately benefit all of humanity. And that's really the core of this incredible theory, weaving together metaphysics, history, and a powerful sense of destiny. It all builds to this one final, provocative thought. What does it mean if an entire generation was actually born with a mission to save the world? And how on earth would they even know when it was time to begin?